This is the Honor GT Pro, and this one, it's very special. And I'm not just talking about what Honor is offering on the inside. This whole launch, it's very special. The kind of hardware Honor is offering, and more importantly, the price they're offering it at, you don't see that very often. Now there is a reason you don't see this all that often, because here there's a unique sequence of events that have happened to make Honor go this hard, this all out on this phone. Let me explain. Now Honor's year-on-year numbers in China and their market share, that's been dropping. Now that's not all that uncommon, it happens to every brand from time to time. But that is the important part, time, right now. For Honor, it's a very important time. And that is because they're gearing up for an IPO. And times like these, a company wants to showcase growth. They want to showcase increased revenue. They want to showcase stability. And that stability part also became kind of iffy for Honor because recently they had a kind of exodus of top leadership, an exodus that included Honor's CEO. Now the Honor GT Pro, it's the first launch under the new regime, and given the current situation, Honor desperately needs a winner. A product that's beloved by the masses, a product to showcase that all is well, a product that brings with it a whole lot of positive attention. And that is exactly why Honor's gone above and beyond with the GT Pro. So anyway, what exactly are Honor offering here? Let's start with the unboxing. But before that, if you appreciated that extra bit of backstory, a subscription would be pretty darn good. And if this is your first time here, or in case you just can't remember, my name's Ash, you're watching C4E Tech. Let's get started. So I ended up going for the 12512 variant in white. Now Honor does offer 3 different color options along with 4 different RAM storage options, pretty standard stuff. Now inside the box there's the Honor GT Pro itself, then there's a SIM tool, a leaflet, a soft transparent case, a USB Type-A to Type-C cable, and finally a 90-watt supercharger. Now this phone, it's not too heavy, it's not too thick, at least by modern flagship standards, yet Honor's managed to pack in a substantial 7200 mAh silicon carbon battery. And with that 90-watt supercharger, you can charge this from 0 to 100 in under an hour. Pretty cool. Now I spoke about this in my last video, right? When you have this high a battery capacity, optimization, things like say a lack of LTPO might not be that big a deal. But Honor, they've taken the exact opposite approach. On top of this huge battery, they've included a dedicated chip for optimizing that battery. There's also a SoC voltage regulator to control the power consumption. And apart from all that, the display, it has VRR support for games. And no, I'm not talking about LTPO, it's got that too, but there's actual variable refresh support here. Now all the coverage I've seen of this phone here in China, it all seems to indicate the battery life is extremely good. In the limited time I've spent with it, I've been impressed too. Now that display, it's a Rhino glass covered 6.78-inch flat AMOLED panel with a 1.5K resolution and 144Hz refresh. If you look at the bezels, they're almost symmetric, maybe a little thick at the bottom, but the GT Pro, it looks great from the front. And as I mentioned, there is support for 80 LTPO and variable refresh for games too. Now guys, this is a bright panel. Honor claims 6000 nits, that's for HDR. In my testing, it output about 1500 nits, so outdoor visibility in the sun shouldn't be a problem. Now under low light, there's support for 4320Hz high frequency PWM dimming in case you're sensitive to OLED flicker. Dig around the developer options, and you can also switch that to DC-like dimming if that is something you prefer. Now on top of all this, there's Honor's regular eye protection features, they're also present here. So the display, it is a major strength for this phone. And by the way, this one also uses the same speaker setup from the Magic 7, so the stereo speakers, they're easily some of the best we've seen on a smartphone. Excellent stuff. Now from a design perspective, things have really changed since the Honor GT that launched late last year. The camera, it's now centered in a rounded rectangle. The GT logo is a little smaller. Now the back, it is fiberglass, but the frame is metal. And while the back here, it's pretty resistant to fingerprints, the frame is not. Now when you see here, the display, it is flat, but the back, it's got a 3D curve at the edges, and that helps with the ergonomics. And talking about which, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner is positioned very comfortably. It is also super fast, as in it scans your fingerprint at the lightest of touches. Hell, it even registers the fingerprint in just a few presses, so no complaints there. Now this phone, it also comes with an IP68, IP69 rating, If I were to nitpick, this one doesn't have wireless charging, but I don't see that as a major con given everything that Honor's offering here. And one of those things that Honor's offering that I find very interesting, that I give a lot of weightage to, is the chip on the inside. Now this one, it's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Extreme Edition. So what's that? So guys, this is the Snapdragon 8 Elite. We already had one beefed up version of this chip in the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, the one that Samsung uses on their flagships. See how 2 cores are clocked higher here? And this is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Extreme. It gets that CPU clock boost along with the GPU clock boost. Now apart from this, Honor is also using faster LPDDR5X Ultra RAM along with UFS 4.1 storage. So like I said at the start, they've got all out with this phone. Looking at the actual performance, the GT Pro, it ran very cool, peaking at a very cool 40 degrees after a 20-minute stress test, though the stability scores, they weren't good. It lost over 60% of its peak performance after the test, which is slightly more than the 50 most non-gaming 8 Elite phones lose. But again, this one does have a little bit more performance to begin with, but guys, it's average at best. You're gonna need an external cooler to get sustained performance on this. That said, most games are still gonna run well, and the experience, pretty darn good given that display and those speakers. Now with the day-to-day, Magic OS is what we get, and it's pretty fluid, responsive. Once again, no complaints, excellent user experience. Now the one area where this phone is not the absolute best with respect to hardware, it's gotta be the optics. Now don't get me wrong, it's not bad or anything, but it's just not at the ultra level. It's one rung below for sure. Now there are 4 50 megapixel sensors. The primary, it's a 1x1.56 inch sensor paired with an f1.95 lens that has OIS. And a good light, it does an excellent job. The dynamic range is rich, the shots were well detailed. They've even thrown in a snapshot mode that lets you shoot moving images without the blur. Now this is pretty common these days on any phone in this segment. So what I was very interested in checking out was the video performance. This, you can shoot up to 4K 60. The footage was very good, stable, and there was no weird EIS jitter. Also, this phone lets you shoot 4K 60 via all 4 of its 50 megapixel sensors. Now when you're using the rear cameras, you can switch to the ultra wide or the telephoto or the 3x telephoto in the middle of shooting a video. The selfie cam footage was also very good, stable, no jitter issues here either. The selfies themselves, accurate skin tones, pretty detailed. I'd call them good. Now circling back to that primary under low light, like I said, it's not going to be competing with any of the ultras, but it still does a fair job, reasonably clean images. The highlights are quite well controlled, the processing is good. The ultra wide and the 3x telephoto, they have a similar color profile to the primary, and that ultra wide, it also has autofocus, so it can pull double duty and shoot macros like this. So overall, while the optics aren't best in class, Honor's definitely managed to get the most out of the hardware on offer. And now we get to the best part about this phone, which is the pricing. In China, this phone starts at 3699 renminbi. Converted prices are on screen right now, and for that price, this just is a whole lot of phone, right? In my opinion, Honor seems to have done a very good job here, but that's just my opinion. What do you think? Leave a comment below that like button, and I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Ash out.